Hey there guys, Mark here from Soarfly Concepts and welcome back to the channel. On today's video we're going to be looking at SketchUp. Now this is going to be a series of videos and I'm not too sure what I'm going to title it yet, but for now we're going to call it SketchUp for Beginners because we're going to be beginning with SketchUp. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Anywho, on this video we're going to be looking at some of the tools that come with SketchUp. I'm going to be touching briefly on how SketchUp is not exactly better, but a better starting point than say 3ds Max or Blender. Blender is free, by the way. I just want to throw that out there. So what we're going to be looking at specifically on this video is tools. The tools that aren't really used, like the tape measure and annotate. And we're also going to be looking at Sandbox, and I will be showing you how to get this large tool selection here. So, yes, it has been a while, and there's reasons for that. I'll touch on them later, I can't be asked right now. So, first off, let's start off with SketchUp. So, when you first get SketchUp, you can actually get this software for free. SketchUp Make is exactly the same as SketchUp Pro in every conceivable way, except there's like 3 differences. Yeah, three of them exactly. Yeah, three differences. And those differences go pretty much unnoticed, especially for me because I use SketchUp to create scenery for Flight Sim. And for creating scenery, SketchUp Make has everything you need. The only major difference that is noticed is in the 3D export options. In Pro, you have the option to export as 3ds Max. 3ds. And in SketchUp Make, you do not. You have the option to export as DAE, which is the SketchUp format. And I think that's the only option you have in Make. Now, I haven't used Make since 2017, so I don't actually know. So in this video, we're going to be looking at... did I even press record? I did. Nice one. So in this video, we're going to be looking specifically at the tools that are available in SketchUp. I'm going to show you how to get the massive toolbar along the side as well. So let's start from the top. Now, I like to call this guy the pointer tool simply because you get to point at stuff with it. It's pointer. Pointy, pointy, pointy. It's also known as the selection tool or the select tool, whatever. Pointer, I just call it pointer tool. Next across we have the eraser tool, shortcut E. That one's pretty much self-explanatory. You can erase stuff. Yeah. After that, we have the line tool. Now, don't be fooled. It's not a pencil tool. It's the line tool. And with that, you can, well, surprisingly, you can draw lines. Now, this particular line tool that I've got selected here allows me to draw straight lines. You also have the option in this guy. If you click on the drop down, you have freehand. I don't tend to use freehand. I know some people that do, but I tend not to because I like things to be uniform, as they were. Next across, we have the arc tool. This allows you to make curved lines. And I've got mine set to 2-point arc. This one here. But you can also set it to 1-point arc, so you can draw an arc using a protractor. And you can draw from a point, and then you can just draw an arc. Or a semicircle, in this case, or whatever. But yeah, you can draw an arc. Now, there's a few more options in there. You got the 3-point arc and the pie. Pie is kind of the same as this, only it fills the object. So if we click on that, you know what I mean? We can start by doing that. And then it will draw an arc and fill it. It's a piece of material, a piece of geometry. Along those notes, we also have the rectangle tool, shortcut R. rotated rectangle, which is exactly the same as rectangle, only you can rotate where it is, so it doesn't have to be drawn flat on a face. You can draw it at any particular angle you like. Circle and polygon. Now, these two guys are kind of the same. So with polygon, you just click on it like that. And if you look down into the bottom right of the screen, you see it said sides, and you get number 6. Just by typing in a different number, you don't have to click on anything, just type in a different number, just tap a number, so 8, and then press enter. We now have an 8-sided shape. Or perhaps we want 20. Press enter, we now have a 20-sided shape. So you can go from as many sides to as little sides as you like. Now, I've never tried 1, but oh no, 1 is no good. So we've got to go from 3 to 999. There we go. So a 999-sided shape is going to be pretty circular. Which brings me on to my next one, which is circle. Now the same goes for this. You can apply a number of sides. So in this case we've got 24, but perhaps I want 50. A 50-sided circle. Look at that. And you'll notice the more sides you draw, the smoother it is. So in this case we've got 50 sides. Let's just say we want 90 sides. Now if we just draw that again. Just realized how how far off that was. So we've got 90 sides. Maybe we want 120 sides. Maybe we want 200 sides. You know, like the sides are endless. As long as you don't go above 999, you can get that number of sides. So let me just explain what we've got in this scene quickly for you. So we've got our 1-point arc, we've got our pie, and we've got our lines. And this guy in the middle here, in this particular version of SketchUp, he's called Steve, I believe. No, his name is Chris. I got that one wrong, didn't I? His name is Chris. Chris... oh shit. Chris is our scale model. Chris does not need to be there if you don't want Chris to be there. Now, being our scale model, Chris is simply there to give you an idea of how tall and how wide the average human is. That's it. Chris has no other purpose than that. Simply there to show us the average height of your average human. That's it. So if Chris can fit through a door, you know your door's the right size. Or way too big. Either way you spin it. So this is Chris. Now Chris will always face the camera. Chris is a particular component. And he will always face the camera. To get rid of Chris, you can either use the eraser tool. Or you can go for the pointer tool and just tap on him and press delete. So the next tool across is the push and pull tool. Now this is one of SketchUp's selling points. You can extrude faces using the push and pull tool. And if you don't know what I mean by extrude, what I mean by that is simply you can make faces 3-dimensional. Boom. Badoof, badeek. Push and pull. Okay, now with push and pull, you can only work on faces that are A, flat, and B, have no hidden geometry in them. So for example, this guy here is a curved face. We click on it. It says, cannot push-pull curved or smoothed surfaces. Which is exactly what that is. It's a curved surface. And it's smoothed. If we just click on View and click on Hidden Geometry, we can now select individual points of the curve. What we can't do is make the curve wider, or if we were to do that, we can make the shape different, but what we can't do is make the curve continue round. There's a couple of reasons for that, but mostly it's limited in all of SketchUp. It's just limited. There is no anti-limitation. The next one across is offset. Now offset is kind of the same as push and pull, except for instead of pushing and pulling faces, you can create lines from faces. So say if I've already got this guy here, maybe this is a curb. I want to make this a curb. Click on that push pull tool, and we'll go down. There we go, we've got our curb. Now the offset tool allows us to make a face bigger whilst keeping our original line, or make a face smaller. What did I do there? Or make a face smaller. As we can see, the size of the face hasn't actually changed, but we've now got a bit more material to work with. That's what the offset tool is for. Next one along is move. Now, move, you might think, well, that's really self-explanatory, but in SketchUp, if you move something, if the thing you are moving is connected to something else, it will try its absolute damnedest to maintain that connection. Like to the point where it may even turn off particular axis of movements. So if I was to try and move this face, if I was to move it that way, you'll notice that there will be some stretching along this line here. This face might actually come out, but well, let's give it a try. Oh, look at that. That face came out further. So did this one. As you can see, it tried to maintain its connection the best it possibly could. We'll just turn off hidden geometry, we don't need to see that. If we look in here, it looks weird. See, now that's the only thing that I do not like about SketchUp, the fact that it tries to stay connected instead of moving the entire object. Now to move everything, we can hold down Control and press A, and that will select everything. And once again, if we were to click on our move tool, if we look at these guys here, these are our axes, the axi, whatever you want to call it, I don't know. And you get green and red. Green and red is, you know, what you might consider it to be. Green, forward and back, red, left and right. Possibly. Oh, yes, I was right. Good. And on the vertical axis, we have our blue axis. That allows us to go up and down. So if we were to go left and right, we can, well, forward and back in this case, we can see it says on green axis. Now what I'm doing to move these things is I'm just simply clicking once, then letting go of the mouse, and then moving the mouse freehand. And that's how I like to draw in SketchUp. The reason why I like to do that is because if I was to, say for example, get the line tool here, if I was to example hold, and I was to make a mistake like I did right there, I've already drawn the line. By clicking once and then moving, I can see a mistake like that is about to happen on blue axis. I don't want it. So I can then pan around and just correct things as I was going along. Now this guy right here isn't quite as joined up as I'd like it to be. So yeah, that is why I click once and then move, instead of clicking and dragging. Even though you can click and drag, I would recommend against it. Simply for that reason. You can then control things a little bit more. And if you do mess up, Control and Z is always there to help you out as well. And you'll be happy to know with SketchUp there isn't a... well, there There is, but there isn't a limit to how much you can control Z, like edit, undo. There is a limit, but like the chances of you hitting it are actually kind of low. I think the limit's up in the hundreds, so there's no need to worry. Next on the agenda is rotate. Now rotate is kind of the same as move. You can rotate faces, and if those faces are connected to something, it will try its damnedest to stay connected to the thing it's connected to. If you want to rotate everything, again, Control and A. Again, Control and A, and there you go. Everything's rotated. Now with move and rotate, you might have just seen it briefly there, is if you press Control, it will duplicate it. Which can be helpful, really. I mean, especially if you're dealing with things like components and whatnot, you can duplicate things. I wanted to move that, say, press Control, and there we go. I've now got 3 of the same shape. Because I can. The next tools along are seldom used, I won't lie, they are not used very often. Tape measure is simply to measure distances, and annotate is hardly ever used, but you can use it to annotate parts of things. Now by default, the annotation tool will give you like the area of a particular face if you annotate a face. Go like that. See, by default this is 1.41 meters squared. However, you can change it. Just double click on the line, well, double click on the wording, and you can type in whatever you like. So I'm just going to put face to destroy. Face to destroy. Now, this particular part of the annotation will always face the camera, so you'll be able to see it no matter what angle you're at. It will always say face to destroy. And let's go ahead and destroy that face. There we go, we've destroyed the face as well. Because I'm clever. So these two things are seldom used. They really are hardly ever used. We're going to come back to this guy in a second. The next one here is the orbit tool. This allows you to orbit around your model. Another way to orbit around is if you have a mouse with a mouse button in the middle, click it down, and then you can orbit. This one here is the pan tool. Allows you to pan around. Left, right, up and down. Again, if you have a mouse with a middle mouse button, if you were just to hold it down and press the first mouse button like a left click, then you can pan around anyway. You don't need to click on that. As you can see, if I hold down the middle mouse button, I get the orbit. And it doesn't flash up for pan tool, but like we get orbit with the middle mouse button. We just click the left mouse button, we can pan. Now the tool doesn't actually flash up like orbit does, but yeah, that's how you do it. Now the next one here, like we got 2 magnifying glasses. So first off, I want to just explain very quickly, this is not zoom. It's focus. Focus. It will bring the part of the model that you want to look at directly into the center of the camera. And it's a double click. So that is directly in the center of the screen. Allows you to zoom in and out on that particular part of the model. Now perhaps I wanted to focus on this particular part. That's right in the center now. Same as this. This is not zoom. This is show entire model. You click on it, no matter what orientation you are in, it will show all of the model in its entirety. Obviously, you're not going to be able to see the underside over here, but like, that's what it's there for. It is show all model. That's why you can't click anything else. If I was on Arc Tool, for example, and I was like zoomed right in here, like tweaking things, and then click on that, show all model, zoom extremities, and it's show all model, show entire model. Now the next lot here is, I think it's part of SketchUp Pro. Again, you won't even notice it in SketchUp Make. I will pop a link for Make in the description as well, just so you know. I'm not about to mention what I'm going to do and then not do it. So here we have our 3D warehouse, extension warehouse, export to template, and the extension manager. In SketchUp Make, the extension manager is actually in window, I think. And shortly after that, we have our Sandbox tools. Now, Sandbox is something SketchUp might not be known for, but it's bloody brilliant. If I was to click on Sandbox, right, we have a few little tools, but this one here is the one you want to start off with. This is called From Scratch. Now, if we look at the bottom there, look in the bottom right, we see grid spacing 3 meters, which is fine. Okay, it allows us to draw an already sectioned off grid. Now, if we were to open the group by double clicking on it, just click twice, and then click on the next one here, which is smooth. You can see we now have a circle appear on it, which is 5 meters radius, so it's 10 meters in diameter. So from center point on one side to the center point on the other side is 10 meters. From the midpoint right in the middle to the outermost part of the circle, it's 5 meters. Yeah, radius, diameter, I always found that weird. But this is basically a sculpting tool. It allows you to adjust things up and down. And again, you can change the size of this circle if you wanted to. So if we want to say 3 meters, do a bit more fine detail if we wanted to. 1 meter. What did I just tap? 1 meter. 10 meters. Yeah, I mean, we're not limited by some major things. I think the lowest you can go might be like 0.01, I think. Well, we'll definitely find out, won't we? Yes. There's 0.1. Now we can go to 0.1. 0.1 is fine. And that just allows us to move little bits. So 10 centimeters, 0.1 meters. Now, when you first start SketchUp, I probably should have mentioned this right at the beginning. When you first start, the first ever time you start SketchUp, you'll be introduced to the template manager. And what you want to do is you want to select a template that you are happy with. Now, for me, for example, I've got it set to centimeters and meters, or is it millimeters and centimeters? One of the two. Or is it just meters? I have no idea. If you work in feet and inches, by all means, click on a feet and inches profile. Now, the template manager will pop up for SketchUp Make, I think, once. For SketchUp Pro, it's also the once. However, if you do want to change it, you can. You can change it. I will touch more on that a bit later, but you can change it. Now, this is kind of powerful for SketchUp. Like, as I said, it allows you to sculpt. I've only ever used this for sculpting terrain, so you might find something else to do with it. But for me, it's just terrain. What I would recommend is loading in some terrain and trying to sculpt it. Okay, now just tap on our pointer tool and tap anywhere that's not a model, and it will deselect your current group. Now, because this group is still kind of sharp and jaggedy, what we can do is we can smooth it out. We right click on it and then click on soften smooth edges. as of right now, it's not where we want it to be, but down here, this will also appear in SketchUp Make. You might have to click Soften Smooth Edges again, but in SketchUp Pro, it will always be here. You can click on Soften Complainer, and you can also turn up how soft things are. Now you can see this guy here. This is because I've got the edge profiles turned on. To turn it off, just click on View and click on Edges. Edge Styles, and just click on Profiles, and that will turn that off. Next, of course, we have the F6 or Fredo 6, whatever. That's not part of SketchUp. That is an extension that I installed. You can obviously do that yourself, whether you're using SketchUp Make or Pro, doesn't matter. And shortly after that, we have our views. We have perspective, top down, front, left, right, back. I've just got them simply because I like to have them. Like, I won't lie, I don't use them very often. But if I was to just click on perspective, it will bring me back to the original perspective with our red and green axis. Red axis going this way, green axis going this way. For top down, again, it will just center roughly in our model. And we've got our green axis, red axis, and our blue axis up here. And of course the other's kind of self-explanatory. Left, right, back, front. Now I only ever use that if I'm sort of zoomed right in on something. I don't want to zoom out. I'll just click on perspective and I'll zoom back into what else I need to work on. So I said I'd come back to this. This here is your paint bucket tool. It allows you to color faces and texture faces. So if we go ahead in here, we've got our duplicated model. So click on the paint bucket tool, and in SketchUp Make, this material tray will open. In SketchUp Pro, I think it's already there. But if you click on the little drop down that says in model, you'll get a number of materials to choose from. All of the materials in here are fairly small, but yet they aren't half bad. They are not half bad. Like I say, they are fairly small, but they're not half bad. So if you just click on a material and click on a face, you can texture it. However, if you then right click on that face, you can hover over texture and click on position. Now, if we right click again, if we right click on the texture, we can see it says fixed pins, done, reset, flip, blah, blah, blah. So fixed pins are these things here. Having fixed pins allows you to have a number of pins. This one here just simply lets you move it. This one here lets you scale it and skew it. This one here lets you skew things prospectively. And this one here lets you rotate and scale. Now the scale will be uniform, the rotate will be uniform as well, because in SketchUp every texture is seamless, every texture can be tiled infinitely left and right, up and down, doesn't matter. However, if you cannot find a texture that you're happy with, you can always make your own. So it says there, create material. If we click on that, doesn't matter anything about that right now, but if we click on this little open button, I've got an entire folder full of textures that I have made. don't forget to give your material a name. So I've just double clicked on the texture. Give your material a name, and the aspect ratio will begin as a locked ratio, so it doesn't matter what you type in. It will always be locked to the same kind of number. So if it's a rectangular number, you might find that it's double length that it is height for whatever, and it will reflect that. So I've got 2 and it will say 1 there. In this case it's a square texture, so it's 2 2. If I wanted to unlock that aspect ratio, I can just by clicking on the little lock and unlock button. Then I can type in whatever size I need to. Once you are happy, press OK. And our texture will appear in the model textures. And if I was to just go ahead and tap in the face, I can texture it again. Now when you are done with the texturing, you can just press enter and it will be fine. What have I done? You see, now this right here is where I would use one of the viewports. Just click on perspective, top down perspective. There we go. Now I can use the same texture if I wanted. What I'm using right now is a little dropper tool, which is inside the texture box. What I would recommend for that is like only dropper tooling the texture that you're using, and then after that just continue. So when you get to a curved portion, like I am right here, things might go a little bit weird. So it's best to use a texture just adjacent. So like that. It's not quite right, is it? Maybe this. There we go. That's better. Now when you come to export as DAE, you'll get your model, and then you'll get a folder with the same name. In that folder will be all of the textures used in the model. So that's where your textures are. Now the fun fact about Blender and the fun fact about 3ds Max is that you can import SketchUp files. You can import DAE files or collada files, whatever you want to call it. And once you import those, you can then texture them in those programs as well. Now I personally prefer SketchUp because you can make some pretty incredibly complex shapes in about 5 minutes. Whereas in, say, Blender, for example, it might take you 5 hours just to make a curved surface. In SketchUp, you can do it in about 5 minutes. That's the only reason why I have taken the SketchUp like I have. Simply for speed. Now, if we were to look down this here, I've already mentioned most things on here, but one thing I do want to point out straight away is this guy here, which is the 3D text tool. Now when you click on it, nothing really happens. It might take a minute for your computer to load it, depending on how many fonts you have installed. But this is the 3D text tool, and I'm just going to leave it as enter text. It's currently on Abaddon, or Abaddon. Abaddon? Anyway, and then you can just pop your 3D text anywhere. Now, that is one big thing about SketchUp that not a lot of other programs have, and that's the 3D text rendering. It will give you any font you like, and it will render a 3D version of it. Now, once the 3D version is rendered, I say rendered like it's been done. Once the 3D version is inside your model, you can then go ahead and scale it. Now hold down Control to scale uniformly, both left and right. You can hold down Shift and it will scale uniformly, but scale everything uniformly. So what I like to do with a text, I simply just hold down Control, grab a corner pin, and I can make it bigger, smaller, whatever I want. Now, one more thing that I want to mention is the zooming capability in SketchUp. A lot of programs are kind of the same with zoom, but if you were to zoom in and out, it's as simple as using the scroll wheel on your mouse. Not difficult at all. Okay, so that is the 3D text tool. Now you got a few other little things here as well. I'm going to leave it at the 3D text tool because you don't need to know much else. Now in order to get this large tool set, all you got to do is click up here in the toolbar blanket area. If I right click, I can see down here, I've got views, I've got Sandbox, and I've got large tool set. You click on large tool set and this lot will appear. Now there's a few other tools in the large tool set like follow me, like some view areas like walk around, point of view, things like that. A lot of that isn't really necessarily needed. Like follow me is an extraordinarily powerful tool, and I will give that its own video. But for now, we are completely done. Now I will once more just open up the 3D text tool, simply just so I can show you it doesn't have to say enter text, it can say anything else. And if you press enter, it will go to the next line. You can choose your font of choice in here. Align, left, regular, height, that doesn't matter. Just press place once you're happy. And there we go. Anyway guys, my name is Mark from Soarfly Concepts. If you liked that video, go ahead and hit the like button. If you didn't like that video, what the hell do you want me to do about it? Why did you watch this far in? Moving on. If you're feeling really nice, you can go ahead and hit the subscribe button and become one of my long-term subscription buddies, whatever the hell that means. But if you do hit the subscribe button, remember to hit the bell notification icon as well, so you can be notified every time I release a new video. It could be 8 days, it could be 8 months. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. In the next video, we'll be looking at how to actually build something in SketchUp. I'll be doing something simple like a house, because I'm simple-minded. And later on in the video series, we'll also be looking at the Follow Me tool, and we'll also be looking at how to make textures. So if that's what you're waiting for, then hopefully the video's out for it by now. If not, sorry, might have to wait a bit longer. Yeah, that's the end, isn't it? Anyway guys, my name is Mark from Soarfly Concepts. I hope you have a wonderful day. Or night. But mostly day. Days are good.